I'm not here to speak to Shannon's guilt or innocence because I don't know, but I do know attempting to settle looks like an admission of guilt because I'm not settling.
If you said that one more time, I'm going to choke the out of you when I see.
Imagine this. You spend decades building a name, from a dusty Georgia childhood to NFL greatness to television royalty. You tell the world, this is me, raw, real, authentic. And they love you for it. But what happens when the very thing that made you beloved becomes the weapon used to tear you down? That's where Shannon Sharpe stands right now, hit with a lawsuit demanding $50 million, accused of things so serious they could wreck everything he's worked for. While rumors of damning audio, texts, and videos swirl in the background, and in the court of public opinion, the trial has already started. But if you think you know the whole story, think again.
I know one thing. If you're 54, you have no reason to be talking to a 19-year-old. She's 22 now. Shannon is 56. I'm so glad that audio of Monique went viral yesterday.
It began quietly. No flashing lights, no TV cameras. Just a court clerk in Nevada stamping a lawsuit that would ignite a firestorm. The claims were brutal. A 2-year relationship turned toxic, emotional devastation, loss of career opportunities, reputation destruction. The price tag? $50 million. On paper, it was a civil suit. But in reality, it was a ticking time bomb. Within hours, the document leaked. Before Shannon Sharpe even had a chance to issue a statement, whispers had already turned into headlines. And in today's media ecosystem, that's all it takes. By lunchtime, advertisers started asking questions. By dinner, some had already made decisions. They weren't waiting for a verdict. They were moving to protect themselves. In their world, risk is more dangerous than guilt. And Shannon Sharpe was suddenly radioactive.
Because it's true. Sit your old down and go find somebody your age and build a family with them. As I said yesterday, men, we need stability and we need discipline.
The next morning, the fire got gasoline poured on it. Charlamagne Tha God, sitting behind the Breakfast Club mic, didn't waste a second. He opened the show with a line that cut deeper than any lawsuit filing. If you're 54, you got no reason talking to a 19-year-old. The words hit like a slap, not just because of the age gap, but because of what it represented. A judgment about power, about optics, about common sense. Charlamagne framed it simply: when you build your brand around being the realest guy in the room, you can't afford mistakes. Because the louder you preach authenticity, the faster people turn on you when you stumble. And stumble, it seemed, Shannon had. Charlamagne wasn't alone. Other radio shows picked it up. TikTok exploded with clips. Twitter turned into a courtroom. And the real courtroom, it hadn't even opened its doors yet.
And she says that she alleges that the was brutal, like it was very it was aggressive.
But it wasn't just words making the rounds. Rumors started flying about real evidence: text messages, voicemails, even a potential video. Sources close to the case claimed Shannon's team was scrambling, trying to explain that some of the so-called proof had been edited or taken out of context. One clip, they argued, looked bad until you saw the whole thing. But who waits for context anymore? In a world where 10-second clips define your fate, nuance doesn't stand a chance. The discovery process looms ahead. Emails, phone records, GPS pings, and every breadcrumb uncovered will be another headline. Guilty or not, the public's appetite for new information is endless. And Shannon Sharpe's digital footprint, it's about to be raked through with a fine-tooth comb.
Now, this woman is alleging that Shannon Sharpe her multiple times over the course of a 2-year relationship. The relationship that they had was
Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Sharpe's empire started to crack. Brands that once lined up to be associated with his energy, his authenticity, his story, started quietly pulling away. First, a major beverage sponsor froze new ads. Then, a betting app canceled a live read scheduled for later that week. These weren't coincidences. They were calculated moves. Why? Because most major endorsement deals include morality clauses, vague, flexible rules that let a company cut ties at the first whiff of controversy. No charges filed? Doesn't matter. No court ruling? Doesn't matter. If your name trends for the wrong reasons, you're out. Fast. For sponsors, it's not about fairness. It's about risk management. And Sharpe, once a brand's dream, had suddenly become their nightmare.
Because at that point, she said that they were in a they were in an actual relationship. They were in Vegas together. So when that happened, she had already kind of been, in this thing where he's verbally abusive, allegedly, but she thought that they were together.
At the same time, social media divided into brutal camps. One side stood by Shannon, posting highlight reels, old interviews, charity events, pointing to the decades of inspiration he'd given millions. The other side, they ripped him apart. Memes, viral jokes, out-of-context videos stitched together into damning TikToks. The court of public opinion doesn't require evidence. It just requires volume. The louder you get, the more right you sound. And the truth, it drowns in the noise. This wasn't about justice anymore. It was about narrative. And Shannon Sharpe was losing control of his.
She says that she was allegedly anally twice and that it was very, very brutal. She alleges the last incident happened January 2025.
Sharpe's legal team faced a brutal choice. Settle, risk looking guilty, confirming every negative headline, even if it meant protecting his private life. Fight it out in court, drag every personal text, every video, every drunken voice memo into public view, giving critics even more ammunition. There is no clean exit when your reputation is at stake. Just damage control or devastation. In these moments, the real question isn't can you win? It's how much can you survive? And for Sharpe, survival was looking more complicated by the hour.
The fact that if this is true, right, why would she go grab Tony Busby as a lawyer?
Yeah, if you want to be taken seriously, you don't go get Tony Busby.
Charlamagne, to his credit, admitted it bluntly. We are part of the problem. Media moves faster than truth. Radio hosts, streamers, bloggers, influencers, they're not waiting for court dates. They're filling timelines right now. Allegedly becomes an afterthought. Headlines sharpened for clicks. Outrage sold like primetime entertainment. And by the time facts finally emerge, public opinion is cemented. Because outrage doesn't rewind. It only accelerates.
I reached out to Attorney Busby and I asked him, first of all, did this happen? Did you guys file this because of that $100 million podcast negotiation conversation? And he said they've been in contact with Shannon Sharpe's counsel since February, long before any announcement.
Most people don't realize civil court isn't about proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It's about tipping the scales even slightly. 51% certainty. That's all it takes to win millions or lose everything. In civil court, perception matters, emotion matters, narrative matters, and in this case, all three were already stacked against Shannon Sharpe.
So then I said to him, well, they're also saying in Shannon Sharpe's statement that there's a video that has been altered to make it look like their or whatever is non-consensual when it's actually consensual if you show the full video.
Even if Sharpe wins in court, the internet won't care. The jokes will remain. The headlines will still surface in Google results. The screenshots will keep floating forever. Digital memory is merciless. It doesn't care about retractions. It doesn't care about cleared charges. It only cares about clicks. And once your name is tainted, it rarely gets clean again, no matter how true the final story is.
Tony Busby said to me, he is a liar. He never even actually saw it. It wasn't even referenced or referred to in the case we filed. But now that his lawyer has breached the mediation agreement that Mr. Sharpe's counsel insisted upon, it should be known that there is indeed a video.
Insiders are already talking about Plan B. If mainstream networks back away, Sharpe could pivot, fully owning his podcast platform, going subscription only. It's risky. The audience shrinks, the money shifts, the public scrutiny never fully disappears. But there's life after cancellation, if you control your narrative. Mike Tyson reinvented himself. Dave Chappelle did too. Maybe Shannon Sharpe could follow that blueprint, but it would be a very different world than the one he dominated before.
So then I said, well, wait, y'all mediated? Because that means that
this shit been going on. Like, he been knowing about this.
Been wanting to, like, there was possibly a settlement. Like, there's been conversations, right? Like, y'all didn't come out of nowhere.
This is bigger than one lawsuit. It's about the culture we've created. A culture addicted to outrage, allergic to patience, especially when the person under fire is a black celebrity. History shows it again and again. The fall is steeper, the forgiveness slower, the scars deeper. And in a system built for speed, not fairness, legends can become villains before they ever get a fair hearing.
Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a bit torn in terms of his response.
Right now, Shannon Sharpe's future hangs in the balance. Discovery hasn't even started. No depositions have been taken, no evidence officially reviewed. But the internet, it's already picked sides. The real truth will crawl into the light months from now, maybe years. And by then, most people won't even care what the final verdict says, because in the modern world, headlines beat facts. Every single time. This fight isn't over, not by a long shot. More leaks are coming, more twists, more headlines, and whether Shannon Sharpe survives this storm or gets buried by it, one thing's for sure, the world is watching, and it won't look away anytime soon. Stay tuned, because the real battle, it's just getting started.